And also as we grow up, I always know that we were different in the eyes of the others. We were the others. We didn't belong. We were strange, and I had a younger brother. He doesn't live any longer. And when my mother was pregnant for the third time, in her 7 months of pregnancy, the state made a forced abortion and a forced sterilization. And
Why?
because of my mother's ethnicity, she was not allowed to have a family, and they scared her very much. I'm very worried because so far I have been the only one pushing for Roma rights. And since September, Romeo Franz, a German Sinti, when he entered the parliament, we worked together, supportive. And I know for sure that he will be re-elected. So I have confidence in that. Yeah. But otherwise, no, they are not pushing. I have some good colleagues in a social democratic group who have been active on Roma issue, Peter Niedermüller from Hungary and others. And of course, but I don't know if they would push. But very supportive. So I have a big support from the social democratic colleagues. Yeah, this is what I hope. And I hope that all the Roma people will have a better future, slowly at least, where they can have full access to water, facilities, electricity, roads, schools, healthcare, all these, and that they would go into politics and because we are a very smart group of people and we are survivors, but we cannot have a daily surviving strategy. I would like Roma parents to have a vision for their children, that their children can have a vision for their own future, have dreams, not just to survive,
Hello, it's Young Europe again. We are today in wonderful Brussels, and I have today another special and an interesting guest. I would kindly ask you to introduce yourself, maybe.
Okay. My name is Soraya. Damen Bachtale Salrom Ternemata Pentrige Europa. My name is Soraya Post. I am a Roma woman. I come from Sweden. And I have been a European parliamentarian since 2014. So I am up to end of this mandate, and I will try to run for another election, another period. And I represent Feminist Initiative, a political party in Sweden, a very small party in Sweden. So if for the first time in history, a feminist was elected on a feministic ticket into any parliament in the world.
Wow. Was it your goal as a teenager or as a student to become member of the European Parliament?
No way at all. Not at all. Actually, I have been a human rights activist for like 40 years. And I was headhunted by Feminist Initiative for the nomination of their candidates to run for the election 2014. And also before that, I was lobbied by different political parties in Sweden to become a member of their party. But my strategy was not to be bounded to any political color at all, because I, as an activist, needed to have access to all the different political groups. So no, I didn't have any dream to become a politician. But when I was questioned, headhunted, I thought about it. and had also a discussion with my family. And as I was an activist on international levels since many years and traveled a lot, I thought about it and I read the political program of the party, and I felt if there is any party I would like to support, it will be Feminist Initiative. Because after reading the political program of Feminist Initiative, I felt that I could have written this myself, so I could stand up for all of it.
Okay. I will come later to this, to the party, because I'm very curious about it. But before that, I would like to know, you said you're a Roma woman. What would you say, how is it to grow up as a Roma in Sweden, like if you compare to other European countries?
I mean, the anti-Gypsyism is just as high in Sweden as everywhere else. Of course, the living standards, the general welfare living standards is higher in Sweden than if you compare to Romania or Bulgaria or other Eastern European countries, even other Western countries, I would say, European countries. So, but I mean, I was born 1956. It was not very common that Roma or Sinti, my mother was Sinti. My father was Jewish from Germany. He came as a sailor to Sweden. Anyhow, it was not very common that they had a house or an apartment. They were not allowed. Because in Sweden at the time, there was a law saying that you cannot stay longer than 3 weeks in one municipality. Mm-hmm. You had to travel along. So when
what kind of person? Everybody has to.
No, as a Roma or Sinti.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when I was born, they didn't have any house, you know. But very soon after, they got an apartment in an area where other Roma were living, Roma and Sinti were living, and poor people without any facilities at all, yeah. And some years later, maybe 2-3 years later, we got another apartment with water inside and gas. So it was very luxury at the time. But difficult to, I mean, the discrimination, the structural discrimination in anti-Gypsyism is has a history of 500 years in Sweden, and it still continue. I mean, even if it looks good, and Sweden is that human right-based country, yes, when it comes to others.
So you said that you have been an activist before you became a politician or a member of the European Parliament. What would you say was the reason for starting as an activism? I assume as a younger person, let's say after school or after university, there was like in every life of or every moment as a younger person, you have to decide what are you doing next. What was this time in your life like?
I mean, I started very early as a child, representing my family in contact with authorities, with non-Roma people, because of my colors. I don't look at the stereotype picture. I mean, my mother was very dark. My father was not, and I got his colors. Okay, I do extra blonde, but and so it was very often, and also the fear from my parents. You know, at the time it was very common that they came to Romas in the family and took the children and placed them somewhere else at farmers. So, and also I mean, as we grow up, I always knew that we were different in the eyes of the others. I mean, we were the others. We didn't belong. We were strange, you know. And I had a brother, a younger brother. He doesn't live any longer. And when my mother was pregnant for the third time, in her 7 months of pregnancy, the state made a forced abortion and a forced sterilization. And
Why?
because of my mother's ethnicity, she was not allowed to have a family, and they scared her very much by saying that we will take your children from you. And they did. They took me and my brother. I think I was 5 years, 4.5, 5 years. My brother maybe was 4. There is 16 months difference. It was between us. And they came whenever they wanted, to knock on the door, to do some inspections, and yeah. And one day they came and took us and placed me and myself and my brother to very far away from where we lived, like 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers.
How old have you been there?
I was about 5.5.
Okay.
5, around 5. And placed us at the farmers. And the farmers, they had their own children also. And we were used as slaves in the stable with the cows to clean.
But not as a job? Or
I was only 5 years old.
okay.
Yeah. They were supposed to take care of us. This is how the state did. They took the Roma children and placed them somewhere else. They didn't care more about it. And I know because my brother and me, we slept in the same kitchen sofa, wooden. He on one side and me on the other side, with the feet meeting. And the telephone in that house was around the corner, just outside the kitchen. So I know because I could hear that my father and mother often called. And I could also hear that they wanted to speak with us, but she never allowed, the mother in the house, she never allowed us. She said, they are outside, or she would say they are asleep, or, like this. And I also know that my mother and father sent a box with clothes and doll and cars for my brother. They never gave it to us. And after like 3 weeks, my mother and father, they were so sad, they were really, really sad. And I know it was an evening because where we slept, I could see out the window, the small road. I could see a car, the lights, and I just know, because it was in the evening, I just know that it was my mother and father. So they came and they could see us in that condition, very, very dirty, with cow shit, So they just took us, they stole us back. And they drive the car the whole night back to our hometown. And in the morning, she didn't put us in the shower or in the bath. She took us to the one who took us away from our parents and showed them, is this what you want for my children? Is this the way you are doing? I will never give them back. And they recognized that it was very bad condition, me and my brother. So they let us stay with my mother and father. But the fear of my mother and father was very, very hard. So they prepared us very early for school. So when I started the first class in school, I could read, I could addition and minus, I could write. And so it was a time when I was supposed to start the school. The teacher didn't want me in her class.
Did she say that? Or?
Yes. Okay. Yes, she said that I am not enough developed mentally to start school. And my mother, because she was very dark, my mother, she never visited school. But then my father came, and said, this cannot be true. how many of the children in here can read and write and plus and minus? As if I remember right, nobody else could. And I could also tell stories because my mother was a good storyteller, you know, in the evening when we went to bed. So I had a big fantasy. You know, I could describe things. I was developed. But they requested a big mentally investigation. So I went to so my father and mother, they took me to the city psychologist to do this psychologist test. Usually they do that to very hard criminals before they do the verdict, you know, these kind of tests. And I passed the test without anything wrong. High test. I had high IQ, the psychologist said. Because I have a photographic memory. What I see, numbers or text, in a way I take picture of it in my brain, yeah. Because the test was also by pictures and classes, and I had to put them in the. I remember some parts of the test. So he wrote a letter to the school, and he questioned the way they have done, and said that this girl is absolutely developed enough to start school. Her IQ is very high. So I started the school. They had to take me, and it was not very easy because at that time, you know, the teacher went out with you when you had your pauses, and all the other girls, they wanted to have the hand of the teacher, you know, blah blah blah, and she never gave me the hand. And my third name is Helena, and that was her name, and this is the only time in my life I sold out myself, because I told her, please hold my hand. I have the same name as you, you know. It didn't help. But, and then I started, you know, to become the best. I realized I'm going to show them I am the best in sports, in school, you know, whatever it is. So I became a kind of a leader. And so when they gave us books, literature, I read them all through. So during the classes, when the teacher asked something, I was there with my hand. I know, because I was always sitting in the back. I was not allowed to sit in the front. So it was I did very well in school. And in Sweden, we have something you call Lucia, the 13th of December. Lucia is a white long dress with candles in your hair, and you spread a light. And this is so typical Swedish, you know, most typical Swedish thing you ever can do. So for me, it was very important to be Lucia. And I became Lucia. Because I became a leader also, you know. And so when I went out 9 years of school, I had very good, examen, very good. And then I started on gymnasium. I didn't fulfill it because I met my husband. I was, how old was I? 18? No, 20. I was 20. So I stopped the gymnasium before. And I did go to work. Yeah, I didn't want to fulfill the studies. And when I was 20 years, I met my husband. And but before that, I already started as an activist, human rights. I fought for the Kurdish people in Sweden. I didn't fight for the Roma people, Sinti, for the Kurdish.
Do you see some similarities in the destiny of Roma people and of Kurdish people, because you say you made this experience and later you started to be active in human rights for Kurdish people?
No, I don't know why I did it. Yes, they're similar. But I think it also was a way to start my activism, to point out to join some other activists. And they were active in that. So I think that's why. And then when I became a mother, I was 22. I realized that I have to work on Roma issues. I have to make sure that my children will not have the heritage that I had, the luggage from my mothers and fathers. So I really try to make awareness. I made exhibitions. I did a lot, yeah, on Roma issues.
Was it like it was clearly the goal, like to change the circumstances, the situation of Roma people. But was there, when you, like while you being an activist, like a certain goal, something you, like a certain measures, certain outcome of how could look this like when the human rights situation of Roma people is improved? What would be different?
You know, even since I was a child, in our home, everybody were welcome. And so many Romas came to our house, and they, you know, the kitchen was open, the refrigerator, you know, it was food, it was everything, and discussions, and I was always very interesting. And so I was under the table in the kitchen, listening, and also intervening in the discussion, because I always try to find circumstances why somebody did wrong. You know, they can say, this guy, look what he did, or this woman. And I always try to find why. And so my father always said, get out, you lawyer. I was young, like 8, 9, 10, 12. You lawyer, you are like a lawyer. And I had to go out, and I sneak in again, you know, standing in a corner or whatever. So my pathos for rights, justice, has always been very strong. So when I started, my goal was justice, and to make people ashamed for their lack of intelligence, lack of empathy, lack of, how to say, not empathy or intelligence, but lack of how ignorant they could be, and how they could live with themselves, knowing the situation of Roma or Sinti in Sweden or across the world. And so I decided very early, no, I'm going to tell them, and then it's up to them. But I'm going to tell them the truth, and then it's up to them what they will do with it. But I want justice, and I want my people to be justified. It's not fair. And I wanted them, when they go to sleep, not to sleep well. I wanted them to think and to feel. So this was maybe my purpose. And so very soon, when I did realize and read more about human rights and understand the language of the mainstream and the authority language, you know, the political language, I used that. So when I got respectful, because they could not play around. I knew some laws, I knew the rights, so I could present it for them. And it was difficult for them to recognize I am a racist. They couldn't say that. And they couldn't say that I was wrong what I said. So, you know, so that's how it started and continued. And then I was invited for a lot of events, conferences, and public hearings, etc. And then in the year of 2000, I pushed the compensation for forced sterilized women. and was successful in that. So, and it was not only women among the Roma who were sterilized, also young boys, you know, because they didn't want us to be a bigger community. So yeah.
This is also the point where feminism meets with anti-Gypsyism or xenophobia in general, right? Was it maybe, is this the bridge between that, or what would you say, where was your entrance or your motivation to went into feminism?
I think I used to say I was born condemned because of my ethnicity, but I think I also was born feminist and clear anti-racist. And I was also raised in our family with a very huge portion of gender equality. I was never limited. My mother and father never told me what the expectations as a girl, you know. And my mother always told me that you should have your own wallet to be economic independent. It's super important. She always had money, which my father didn't know about. And I played football with my brother and his friends. And this was 1968. I was like 12. And when the people found out a girl is playing football, this is strange. So the newspaper came and they knocked on my mother's door and asked, "We heard about this girl playing football. We would like to speak with her." Yeah, but then you have to go to the football player. And they came and they took pictures and they did the interview. And the headline was, "Here comes Soraya dribbling away the balls." And I did. And I am still doing that, you know.
But in a different way than kicking balls.
Yeah. Without the football, but politically.
So you later entered the Feminism Initiative and you became the candidate for the European Parliament. How did it came to that? Why exactly you and not someone else?
I don't know. You know, my political party is intersectional.
What does that mean?
It does mean that we have representation from different groups. We are not all white. We are not all very educated. We have some criticisms that all are very academic, but they are not. So we have different people, also men. How to say, a diverse party for diversity.
So different minorities, different religions,
Yes,
different ages.
Yes, absolutely. And as I was known as a human rights defender and had did some governmental reports and committees on human rights and also on anti-Gypsyism, but also on Roma issues. So and I was in different boards and different juries. I was in the Raoul Wallenberg jury. I was in public service in Sweden, appointed to be a member of the board of Swedish Radio, public service. I have been a little bit everywhere, and I had also some awards. I don't know if you know Millennium, the books Millennium by Stig Larsson. Stig Larsson, that's the prize. I got that 2014, I believe, as an anti-racist. Because, I mean, yes, in my heart, I fought for the Roma people, but I also, my fight was against racism as a phenomena and abuse. Because, you know, it is very scary. You can speak about democracy and rule of law, but if a democratic state is not founded, if the democracy is not founded on the respect for human rights, it's very weak. You know, you can look in Poland, we have democracy, yeah?
And to be also, these are European values, right? Freedom,
Yes.
equality, solidarity.
Yes, they are European values. And a democracy is very weak if they take away the respect for human rights. I mean, you can easily change the law system, the constitution, and the rule of law. It's very easy.
What was your goal when you entered the European Parliament as a member? What did you say like to yourself? This is something I definitely want to achieve.
I was very clear about that. When I presented myself at the Congress, where the election for the candidates in my party was, not all of them, they didn't know me. I was quite new in that. And I said, okay, you can look at me as a mixture between Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King and Ellen Key and Rosa Parks. And I also gave them my 3 truths, sentences. There is only one race, human, and there is only one religion, love. And there is only one world, or no world at all. And so I got elected from the Congress, And then what I wanted to achieve, and I was very clear about the injustice Roma are facing across the European Union, across Europe, across the world. And I was also a clear anti-racist and cannot stand nationalism, extreme rights, and I think they are the biggest threats to our societies, and we have seen it before, 75 years ago. So the promises I gave, I have fulfilled all of them, and so I was so happy when in April 2015 had the resolution of the recognition of anti-Gypsyism as a special form of racism towards Roma. Okay. And because they gave me a platform to go on, because all the other years they look at the situation of Roma only on discrimination, a social problem, a poverty. Hell no. These are the consequences. The poverty, the social exclusion, the discrimination, they are all consequences of anti-Gypsyism. So, and also the recognition of a Memorial Day for Roma Holocaust. I mean, it's so shameful that the Roma have not been compensated. They have no remembering stones, or I don't know the word in English. I know we have now in Berlin, 2012.
Those statues we shoot.
The place, commemoration place. Mm-hmm. And we have also the pavilion in Auschwitz, a Roma museum pavilion in the year of 2000. And the war ended 1945. So it took more than 60 years, even to have these small, tiny things. So, but they gave me also a platform that I could start to work. So when the Parliament showed with a huge majority the direction for the Commission, for the EU, other EU institutions, is now we can start, the work. So I continued and gave the report, and in the report from 2017, 12 pages of the report are recommendations, proposals, actions. And I also created good cooperation with DG Justice, with the Commissioner and with the people, the staff. Vera Jourova. Mm-hmm. I also have a very good relation with Frans Timmermans. Actually, when I entered and joined the Social Democratic group, I had a request that we should have a commissioner with a portfolio on human rights, and they did it on my request. So, because there was never a portfolio of human rights before put on any commissioner, So So then we have done this work, ongoing work, and I involved because for me, as a democracy defender, it's very important to put the power. Yes, I have a borrowed power because of people elected me to use this power. Mm-hmm. But I like to give the power to the people. It sounds very nice, but I really do that. I really believe that, because I think the mainstream society or the citizens have put themselves, or the politician put them in a kind of comfort zone, you know. We don't need to care, we care, we fix, the politician says, we do it, we fix. But they don't, really. So for me it was very important to involve NGOs. So I have very good cooperation with the different Roma NGOs and non-Roma NGOs working on human rights. So we have done a lot of work together, events, amendments to the reports, a lot of things. I can never do that myself and I also want to empower the NGOs, the civil rights organization, because we need, this is also because I'm a democracy defender, I think it is very important to have a strong civil society. I mean, and to empower the individual makes a stronger collective.
If you think now about the last legislation, about the last few years, and the upcoming elections, which will take place now in 50 days or so, what would you say should be done or can be done to change the situation of discriminated minorities, especially of Roma people, because we face now a lot of hate, a lot of discrimination of these people?
We have always faced that, and we are now scapegoats because during these election times. Even, I mean, not all, but a lot of politicians use Roma as scapegoats now because they know that the non-Roma society does not want, they don't want to be neighbor to Roma, yeah? So they don't go out and say we promote the Roma issue during this time. They will not. And they will also use Roma as voters for a piece of bread, yeah, across European Union. But for the next legislation, it will be hard, because the fear is, and most truly the extreme rights, the conservatives will grow, their mandate will grow in the parliament, and most of them are EU skeptics. And now all of them, National Front, Lega, all of them have become pro-European Union in one purpose. And their strategy is to demolish the European Union from the inside. And they can do it if they are many. It would be very difficult for us to pass policies during the votings. They can, when they push the no button and create their own alliance, when it comes to gender equality, for example, or abortion issue, or equality issues for minorities, it will be hard. So that's why I'm very eager that all the Roma across European Union go and use your voting right and vote for democratic parties. Don't vote for PP, not even liberals. They should vote at least for the Social Democrats or the left or Green, to make sure that we have some kind of balance in the parliament next mandate. I hope I will be re-elected. I'm a little bit tired. And I promised people here, also at the Commission, but also at other institutions, but mainly the Roma NGOs, that I will candidate and run for another mandate. So I hope I will be re-elected If not, I'm very worried, because so far I have been the only one pushing for Roma rights. And since September, Romeo Franz, a German Sinti, when he entered the parliament, we worked together, supportive. And I know for sure that he will be re-elected. So I have confidence in that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But otherwise, no, they are not pushing. I have some good colleagues in a social democratic group who have been active on Roma issue. Peter Niedermüller from Hungary, and others. And of course, but I don't know if they would push. But very supportive. So I have a big support from the social democratic colleagues. And I have been depending on that, of course. As one person you cannot do. So it means that you have to work towards your group first of all. And then to get their support on all this, and so we can have so yeah, I am not a scared person. But if I am scared, it is now about the political situation. And I'm scared also that, I have been warning for this for many years now, this growing nationalism, etc. But I think now they finally realize that it is a danger. And we managed to have a resolution on a ban of Nazi and fascist organization, and it passed. So now we have that. There is a ban.
Okay. Last question, because we don't have so much time anymore. What's your vision of the European Union? Like, your vision of the European Union. How do you imagine a good European Union?
First of all, I hope it will remain a peace project. Yeah. And I hope that the European Union will take a stronger as an international actor, both on peace and on climate. This is another fear I have. What are we doing with our planet? Yeah. So I hope that these nationalistic movements will calm down, and that we will manage to kick them out, so we can fulfill the dream of the European Union, and to create a life based on the values of the treaty, where equality, gender equality, and democracy is valued, and that we will take care of our climate and our planet in another way, and create more solidarity, of course, and to strengthen our societies and to erase poverty. I have been working very hard on that, on the Sustainable Development Goals, and this is what I hope. And I hope that all the Roma people will have a better future, slowly at least, where they can have full access to water, facilities, electricity, roads, schools, healthcare, all these, and that they would go into politics, and because we are a very smart group of people, and we are survivors, but we cannot have a daily surviving strategy. I would like Roma parents to have a vision for their children, that their children can have a vision for their own future, have dreams, not just to survive, So I'm working hard on that, and God bless us all.
Ms. Post, thank you for this interview. Bye.
Bye.